Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest. Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I am your host, Coach Rice, and with me today, I have Stephanie Wise. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist in Hawaii and California, relationship coach for couples and individuals, and she's also a professor, an adjunct professor in the graduate marriage and family program. Wow. So her belief is grounded in that love, empathy, and strong relationships aren't soft skills, which is definitely true. They are the foundation of a meaningful and resilient life. She focuses on helping people build those skills in real imperfect relationships where the stakes actually matter. People need you.
Thank you.
People
Yeah.
need people
Yeah.
need you in the world, right? So tell us, Stephanie, I'm assuming you are from California, right?
I'm actually from Canada.
Oh, okay. So where you live at? Are you living in California now? Oh, you live
No,
in
I
Hawaii.
live in Kauai. Yeah, I live
Oh,
in Kauai with my
right.
husband. He's born and
Okay,
raised
which
here,
island?
so on Kauai.
Wow, nice. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay. So you mentioned, love, empathy, and these strong in these and the strong relationships. They're not soft skills. How did you actually experience that belief for yourself?
Well, I think for myself, you know, I everything wonderful in my life has come because of relationship skills. Um, and I think most people would say that it's one of the most transformative things you can do in your life is have a network of good quality relationships. And, we know from, I don't know, they've done like a bunch of longitudinal studies now about the importance that relationships have in your
Mhm.
life for a meaningful life, for a happy life, for a successful life. And I think it's not just like woo woo based on your philosophical thoughts on the matter. It's actual tangible metrics too, right? We know your health is
Yes.
better financially. It's probably one of the most important decisions you can make. All of these other metrics that are really measurable. Good quality relationships make the difference. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely found that to be true in my life as well.
What made you embark upon being a marriage and family therapist, and what made you passionate about serving couples?
Yeah. So I used to work with kids. I worked with kids, especially during COVID. I did a lot of work with kids, and actually, when I was living in California, and you know, I saw the difference it made when I got families more involved, and it sort of hit me one day. I was watching this, I was in the session with this kid and they said something and I thought, oh man, that's just their inner voice. Like it was great. We were getting this really great place. They really trusted me. And I thought, wow, I'm watching this kid's future inner child be created in real time. And I'm hearing the
Mm,
echoes of what's going on for mom and dad come out in this kid's like inner voice. And I thought, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I get the parents more involved. I improve their skills and everything else improves outside of that. I think, working with kids, it was really clear. Like the family you're born into makes a really big difference on your relational skills at first. And that's it's luck. You don't get to choose that. But it really hit me that like as adults, we have this gift of responsibility that we do get to choose how we show up in relationships. And we do get to choose whether we're perpetuating harmful cycles or we're breaking them. So
yes, that is so true.
it really, yeah, it brought me back to wanting to work with couples because if you can master the couple relationship, which is so difficult because it's the only non-obligatory relationship really out there. It's the only one really truly chosen.
Right.
Um, then you're really well set up to be a better parent, better friend, better community member. It keeps reverberating outwards.
I like how you said we get to choose not to be that same person as an adult. If we have unhealthy relationship
Mhm.
styles, we get to choose to do something about it. And so a lot of times
Yeah.
people do use that. Well, this is how I am. I grew up this way, that type of thing. In your work as a marriage and family therapist, what would you say the biggest misconception that people have about what makes relationships successful?
I think the biggest misconception that people have is probably that it's a matter of just luck, right? It's like finding the right person, right? And we
Thank
treat it like it's luck, but it's really not. It's not luck. It's skills, right?
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
and I think that really starts with the work you do for yourself, with your self-esteem, your relationship to yourself. And when you get really good at that relationship with yourself, when you can love yourself as an imperfect person who's learning and still worthy, right? When you can learn that and then extend that outwards to other people, everything grows from that, and that's a real skill set.
And I
Oh,
think
sorry.
I mean, I definitely agree. I definitely agree that it does take a skill set to be able to, really navigate relationships, period. Because
Mhm.
we are human beings that have innately selfish, right? We have to learn the skill of sharing and how to do that. What are some of those subtle signs that you see when you start to see a relationship drift apart before major problems are visible?
I think when I see people start to choose to turn away from each other, the conflict is they sort of behaviorally train themselves out of being real with each other. They learn that it's too hard to tolerate the difficult emotions that come up either in themselves or their
Mhm.
partner. And so they start shutting down, and the more they do that, the more they drift apart because we crave authenticity, right? We crave
We
that
do.
that ability to like really be seen in our truest raw selves by another person. But when that goes so poorly every time, when every slight misalignment turns into this big conflict instead of an opportunity for connection and understanding, we
Mhm.
slowly train ourselves to turn away from our partner, and then you get people drifting further and further apart. And it might even look from the outside like, wow, they never argue, but it's because they're not really talking to each other, and
Right.
they become so afraid of those difficult emotions that it's controlling everything.
Mhm.
So
That
yeah.
is so true. I like how you laid that out. And so what is your opinion about, like, people entering relationships? You ever notice that some of them have these unspoken expectations about trying to fulfill their unmet needs? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think I'm a therapist. I think everything should be spoken. Nothing should be
Right.
unspoken.
I agree. I agree. But you know how that is, right? They
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
unmet
Yeah.
needs
I
that they
think,
expect you to meet without even talking about it. It's
yeah.
covert, right?
Yeah. I had somebody kind of put it to me this way, right? We talk a lot about, everyone's heard that, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And somebody said something recently to me that really stuck with me, which was that we should be thinking about filling our own cups, and then the overflow is actually what everybody else gets, right? And because if you got two people with half empty cups, you're just trading
Right.
places, you're just trading space, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that piece of things, of needing somebody to fill something in you to like meet these unmet needs as opposed to learning to meet them for yourself, it's a dangerous place to be. It's going to lower your standards to anybody who can somewhat fulfill me a little bit is going to be the person I choose. Where when you enter a relationship instead with knowing that I can meet my own needs, I can find happiness on my own, or at least I can live an interesting and fun life on my own. Maybe it's not perfect all the time, not a perfect happy ending, but then your partner gets to be additive. They get to be this
Mhm.
extra source of joy. And what a wonderful thing, right? And it sets
Yes.
relationships up for success. And it also sets you up to know that like you're accountable for your own happiness and you're accountable
Yes.
for your own part in your future and how that turns out.
That is yes, you're right about that. And so when it comes to like, when you think about, I love relationships and I love talking about them because it's so important. And let's talk about the communication skills that couples should have
Mhm.
because a lot of marriages fail because of that's one of the root causes of marriage, of relationship failure, period. How
Mhm.
important, how important and what, how important is it for couples and people in relationships, period, to have a communication skill set? And what would you say the best one would be?
I think the ability to slow things down is where everything else kind of stems from. Because when you're able to not react impulsively, you're able to choose a decision instead of an impulsive reaction, right? And that pause is what allows you to react in a way that is more aligned with the person you want to be and the relationship you want to be in rather than instinct or rather than fear or
Hmm.
reliving an old pattern from your childhood or whatever it might be. So being able to slow yourself down, I think is a really key piece of things. And that can look really different. You know, I think for men and women especially, like the differences and how that looks is really interesting to me. I often
Yeah.
see that men have started slowing things down, but then they never re-engage. And so then they're sort of stonewalling, right?
Yes.
That's a really common one. Whereas I see often the opposite thing for women. They're like, but I speak so authentically and honestly, but they have no filter.
Right.
And so it's just this, it's this
It's the
incredible explosion
dance.
of thoughts and feelings. And it's also not really getting them where they want to go. Right. So being able to master the art of pausing and then choosing how you want to speak on behalf of yourself and your relationship in order for the conversation to move forward productively.
Absolutely. Because yeah, couples, it's interesting how they do communicate and they deal with conflict. It's almost like they're in combat with one another
Yeah.
and the relationship is tossed out the window.
Yeah. It's so crazy because I think most of these conversations usually start as an attempt to connect, right? When we
Yes.
talk about something difficult, we're almost
Hmm.
always bringing it up because we want to feel connected to our partner on it. And then somehow it becomes fraught. And instead of the two of you against the problem, it's the two of you against each other.
And I'm glad you mentioned connection. Often people want to connect with themselves and with others. How would you define connection when it comes to relationships?
How would I define connection when it comes to relationships? I think it kind of comes back to relational self-esteem where you're able to feel seen as you are as an imperfect person and still know that you're loved, right? And that relational self-esteem piece, right? When we have healthy self-esteem, it's I'm imperfect, but I'm still worthy. I still deserve good things. So then that's the piece that I would say that's what it, when people talk about what it feels to feel connected, it is that witnessing with love and witnessing with care, and without necessarily expectation for perfection or perfect change or anything else, right?
Yes. What are some of the practical, ways couples can strengthen their relationships before problems begin to start?
I think, I mean, one of the most powerful things you can do to just get started is talk about your relationship and understand that great relationships take effort, right? And I really intentionally say effort, not work, because it's not work. It's a joyful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be able to put energy towards somebody else. But and it's going to take some intentionality, right? That conversation
Mhm.
allows you to have intentionality. That awareness allows you to make choices with purpose, right? So starting,
Yeah.
I think, you know, once you're doing that, once you have that awareness, the other place that I probably, I'm sure my clients have all heard me say this time and again, but those daily rituals that you have with each other, and I always say transition points are a wonderful time. Habit pairing, right? Every time you wake up, do you turn to your partner? Do you give them a kiss? Do you say good morning, or do you just pick up your phone? I think same thing when you get home from work, right? Sure, you might be feeling a lot of other emotions, but maybe joyful love at seeing your partner get home from work isn't your dominant emotion, but it's probably in there somewhere, and you can choose to act on that, even if it's not the dominant
Absolutely.
emotional experience you're feeling right then. So really making a point of practicing that and practicing acting with love, even when it's not the most noticeable thing you're feeling in the moment,
Hmm.
um, that can have such a huge effect across your relationship.
With every listener that's listening, what could they walk away? What's the one truth that they can walk away with when it comes to love, connection, and building stronger relationships?
Well, I would say the one truth that people can walk away with is that because love is more than a feeling, it's a practice. You can lead with behavior. You don't have to wait to feel perfectly inspired to be loving towards your partner. Just be loving towards your partner. And then you will notice that the more you do that, the more inspired both of you feel all of the time. It builds on itself. You're either spiraling up or you're spiraling down, and you have some control over that. So use your power in your relationship for your half to make it a great one.
Now, when you dealing with couples that struggle with, communication, and one is more reactive and one refuses to cooperate, what do you do?
I really focus on empowerment. I focus on helping people see that if you've tried to solve the problem and the way you're approaching it isn't working, then your approach is the only thing within your power to change. I focus on empowering people to see, like, hey, okay, I understand you've tried all these things. They haven't worked. So maybe they're not winning strategies. Let's change the strategy, right?
Right.
Let's change your approach. And I mean, I think that when you get somebody, you really want to empower people to feel like something that they can do will make a difference. And when people feel that empowerment, then they feel hope and then they feel motivated to change. I think when we start to feel like I've tried everything and nothing's getting better, we feel hopeless and we sort of become passive and we stop using what I call your voting power in the relationship, to make a difference. So I
Right.
really try and empower people to remember, like, hey, you have some voting power here. So how are we going to use it to make this relationship the one you want it to be? Because your partner's not against you in that. Most people want a happy, loving relationship. So if you're working towards the same goal, it it's just a matter of figuring out the route you want to take to get there together. It's not that
Yes.
you're against each other.
I like how you said that. Everybody do want a healthy relationship. Nobody walks around and like, I just want an unhealthy relationship. And so,
No.
not at all. So you also do premarital counseling, uh, you coach, you also do
Mhm.
group therapy. And tell us about that.
So It's actually I do group coaching.
Okay.
And that's something I'm just getting into. I've just found I love therapy. I love doing the therapy piece, right? Where you dive into the histories and the individual traumas and all of that side of things. It's really rewarding. But I've also found that I think maybe the direction we've gone as a society is maybe a little too obsessed with the cause. And
Yes.
we've maybe forgotten that we need to also own our parts in the solution. And I think that's where coaching really speaks to me. So, and I also think about things like the Gottman Institute's, magic ratio for healthy relationships and how so often when we struggle in our relationship, I think especially women are prone to this. I know I am, where you kind of get obsessed with figuring out why and let me analyze it and let's talk it out. Let's spend long hours talking about these problems so we can feel so connected on them. Right. But I think oftentimes we've forgotten that sometimes what we need is less talking about the problems and more action towards the solution. And so my coaching
Right.
membership is meant to help people, yes, learn some communication skills, things like that, right? Where we're doing weekly calls where I'm going over, like, for example, active listening or growth mindset for couples or, individuation and healthy individuation, talking about things like that, and then helping people through like a hot seat Q&A style at the end of that, work through the things that are getting in the way of that for them, right? Usually
Right.
these things are so much more universal than people realize. But I think on top of that, also like just giving ideas for conversation prompts that are remind you of who you are outside of the logistics of a career and kids and all the things you got going on all your life, right? That beautiful shared dreaming that you can do together as a couple, kind of bring it back to that a little bit. Date night ideas. And then the other things that I do with my group coaching is I'm part of this program that I'm launching or setting up monthly secret assignments. So each partner gets to choose whether they're partner A or partner B, and then they get an email of a secret assignment to do something loving for their partner over the next month that
That's
you
pretty
surprise
cool.
each other with. Yeah. So, I mean, it's this idea of like, hey, if you're not, maybe if you weren't lucky enough to be born in a family where you saw this happening all the time, this is meant to help you to provide a framework and a community and a space where we're treating ourselves as students of relationships and we're setting up a framework and a support for that. So yeah, that's the group coaching piece of things that I'm really, really excited about. That's also a great time for like people who are getting married and things like that. All those times when you're like, I think we should work on a relationship, but I don't really know where to start.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know where to start, and that's great that you have that. Do you
Mhm.
have anything else going on? Like, are you, a book or anything in the future?
I am working on a book. I have two small kids myself, in addition to, my private practice and my coaching group. So it's slow going, but I'm definitely working on it. I'm really, really passionate about reaching as many people as I can with this message on, loving each other as a practice. Because I really do believe in the like far-reaching effects it can have when we get great at relational skills. We're not just better partners, but we're better parents, we're better friends, we're better community members. Um, the concept of relational ecology really speaks to me and the way that we're all interconnected. And yeah, I just want to reach as many people as I can with this message.
Awesome. Well, I love the work you do. I do the same work, and I hope we can collaborate in the future.
That would be
And
amazing.
just, to the audience, I would say if you really know someone who's struggling with relationships, you have so many resources out here to help. Stephanie Wise will be a great resource to help with your marriage. If you want to join her group therapy, I will put the links in and you can reach out because don't suffer in silence with your relationship. Don't just push your relationship to the side. It's so important to grow together. And remember, when you're married, you are one. And so let us help you in moving your relationship to the next level. And so, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us and having, and giving us your wisdom on, relationships and how to grow in them and connect. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to be here. Thank you.
All right. Then to my audience, happy Monday and have a great day.
It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. With Coach Rice wisdom will heal every heart. So join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.